The talk of the town. Hot topics. Local talk. Part of your balanced breakfast. Mornings on 100.7 FM. WUTQ.
7:45 and heading up to highs in the mid-80s today, according to Jill Reel, our staff meteorologist on 100.7 FM WUTQ.
I say to them, the information is not really out there, so let's not be the typical naysayers of the past, and let's get all the information before we make a decision.
There's Utica Mayor Rob Palmieri about the downtown hospital possibilities. We welcome in our guest right now, Jim Brock from the Brock Insurance Agency. And Jim, I know you've been sort of an opponent of this idea and started a grassroots campaign on Facebook, which has gotten a lot of notice. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks a lot. It's great to be here with you and in your new digs. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah, great new partners. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks, Jim. When did you start this campaign? And tell us about the hashtag and how you came up with that idea.
Well, it's pretty simple. I was approached by some members of the hospital board who were very troubled by the process that was taking place. Mm-hmm. And the fact that there was so much pressure for them to look at only one option, and that option being downtown, and wiping out so many blocks of our downtown, taking those blocks off of the tax rolls. In addition, as you know, I serve on the Auditorium Authority. Mm-hmm. I am not here speaking on behalf of them, but I can tell you from our experience where we're located, just a block away from where they want to propose this new hospital, we have inadequate water, inadequate sewer, and inadequate electricity. So our infrastructure is not there for this hospital. And when you look at the momentum, Dave, of what we've got going on in this community, from our arts district with the Stanley, Munson Williams, our entertainment with what we're doing at the Utica Odd, with our newest businesses downtown, Utica Coffee, Taylor and the Cook, Utica Bread, Bite Bakery, what Brodok's done with his building, and what, of course, the folks at the Landmark have done. We've got, for the first time, positive momentum for our downtown. And we're going to wipe out blocks where we could actually have people living. The key to any revitalization, and I experienced it in two places living in Miami, both in downtown and South Beach, in Houston, Texas, when I lived there, as well as the south end of Boston. The key to revitalization of downtown is opening up your downtown at 5 p.m., not closing it down. A hospital wiping out that many blocks will close our downtown. We have an opportunity like we have never had before. I'm excited about it. And this is the wrong place for the hospital to go.
Now, what if it were to go in another area of the city of Utica, still within the environs? I know that Anthony Brindisi says that we might lose some state funding unless the hospital goes within the city environs of Utica.
Well, I think that's a really great point. As you may know, the Masonic Care community not too long ago annexed some of that property that was in Frankfort into the city of Utica. There are members of the hospital board who would like to see the new hospital built on the St. Luke's campus. One, there is room for it. Two, you have a wonderful synergy with UC and the cogen plant that we put there and have funded extensively. This would be a great location. And to comply with the Assemblyman's legislation, we simply annex that campus, St. Luke's campus, into the city of Utica, and we are now complying with the requirements of the legislation. So that's a wonderful idea that someone came up recently. I wish I was smart enough to have thought of it, but I want to give credit where credit's due.
All right, and then you said you want to build a lot of living space downtown instead of a potential hospital. Don't you have to, isn't that in some ways putting the cart before the horse? Don't you have to attract and make sure you're attracting people to downtown before you have dwellings and residences?
You know, it's the old adage of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. The top realtor in our community and arguably in all of upstate New York, John Brown, has studied the demographics of our incoming nano, as he calls them, our 30-somethings. The demographic is single, around 100-plus income. What they want is an urban lifestyle. They want to be around arts and entertainment. If we don't offer it to them here, they're going to go to Syracuse. They will think nothing of a 45-minute commute from downtown Syracuse. We've got to provide it here. And I would submit to you, there is no way that someone wants to live next to a hospital. Along that same line, I have spoken to as many doctors as possible. Ask them, when your rounds are over at the hospital, assuming it goes downtown, what will you do? They said, we'll go back to the suburbs. Well, the idea that foot traffic is going to create an economic impact for downtown,
which is crucial,
from this behemoth, is ridiculous, and I'll explain why.
All right. No, wait, first of all, it works in Syracuse. There are downtown hospitals in Syracuse. You mentioned Syracuse. Why? It works there.
It is their big boom downtown. I mean, in the businesses that surround the downtown of Syracuse and the hospital are more than thriving, and I think that the folks that live there really appreciate that as well.
Now, if you're talking about University Hospital, I mean, it is at the base of the university.
Sure.
And that's a very different type of situation.
Because of the residency program.
Right.
I would say.
What we have is we have two hospitals in South Utica. I've had my building there since the 1970s. We were flanked by two full hospitals. At that time, Faxton was a full-blown hospital. And just a quarter of a mile away, we had St. Luke's. South Utica Business District died. The only thing that supported was McDonald's, Arby's, and the bar right across the street from it. So anyone who wants to say that this is going to create economic impact from foot traffic of a hospital is just not seeing it.
I also know that baby boomers are attracted to living downtown. They're going in other communities, going there in greater numbers now because that's the kind of lifestyle they'd like to lead. But
Absolutely.
Now, with the aging of the baby boomers, wouldn't it also make sense to have a hospital nearby for them to be able to utilize?
I don't think anyone wants to live next door to a hospital. I'll give you an example. Two of our most recent folks opening businesses in downtown, Jason and Douglas at Bite Bakery, lived in New York City. They loved where they lived, except they were a block and a half away from the emergency room of a hospital. They said it was unbearable at night.
Noises,
So,
you mean?
the
It
noise,
sounds
the
of
noise
ambulances
pollution.
and things
Absolutely.
like that.
But remember, the difference in some of the examples that they're trying to use is that there were already living spaces around where some of these hospitals were.
Sure.
We're talking about wiping out the potential of blocks and blocks, which, by the way, someday could provide a good tax base for the city of Utica. This is the wrong place for this hospital.
Talking to Jim Brock from the Jim Brock Agency here on 100.7 FM WUTQ. You can chime in if you like at 624-0870. Tell us again, I asked you about the hashtag that was created on Facebook. How did that come about?
Well, just pretty simple. You know, no hospital downtown. Not to say it shouldn't be in the city, but not downtown and not in the location where they are trying to force.
And do you know
the hospital board?
Are you aware of the specific location being discussed? I mean, has it been identified in particularly at this point, or is it still sort of a secret?
Well, isn't that troublesome? Isn't that troublesome when you think about a project of this magnitude? Where are the scoping sessions? When are they taking place? Where are the public hearings? If we are ultimately going to build this hospital downtown, shouldn't we shed a huge light on it? This not only impacts the citizens of the city of Utica, it impacts our county, and I would submit to you, it impacts our region. This should not be done in a smoke-filled room, in the back, in the darkness. Let's shine some light on it, and I appreciate you inviting us here to do that.
Well, good points. And actually, I know that Anthony Brindisi, the assemblyman, is going to chime in on the phone here in a little while because he heard you were going to be in, and he wanted to address some of this stuff. Maybe he'll address your contention that it's happening in smoke-filled rooms. It's an interesting analogy there. I don't know if that's actually the case.
And Jim, what are you hearing? What do you know that's happening at this point, I guess, per se, in the smoke-filled rooms? Or have we even gotten to the situation to be able to discuss some of the potential areas, potentiality of what it could do to the region? Or are we just at the stage where the funding has been announced and now it's time to start these talks?
I think where we're at is the reason I got involved, and that is hospital board members felt uncomfortable with the process. When they're being told that it either goes where we tell you it goes or the funding will not come. That's wrong. It is the hospital board that should be making this decision and ultimately legally will make the decision. But they should make it based on what is best for our community and for health care in our community, and not based on being forced by a group of people that have designated an area that they think they want to just wipe out, quote, the blight and build a hospital there. And what will we have around it? Let's talk about who goes to the hospital. First of all, the nurses are not going to be economic foot traffic. They're not in South Utica. They may go down in a subsidized cafeteria, have lunch, have coffee, go out on the corner and smoke a cigarette. They're not going to help our downtown. The doctors that I've talked to are not. They may come back downtown after their shifts, but they're still going home after they make their rounds. And, of course, we've all had loved ones in the hospital. When your focus is to visit a loved one in the hospital, are you then thinking about booking a reservation at our newest restaurant, Ocean Blue? No. I would submit to you, you're drained, you're going home, and certainly the individual you went to visit is not going to be any type of foot traffic that will help our downtown.
Well, they might need a diversion after a trying day in the hospital. Jim, I'm not sure I agree with that completely. As for the location, where would you like to see it go if you had your druthers?
If I had my druthers, I would really like to see it on the St. Luke's campus. Again, I think the synergy with UC, I think the cogen plant that we've already invested a lot of money in, they have the room. The doctors are in favor of it going there, and certainly there are a number of board members who would like to see it go there. And if we have to annex the property so that it works with the legislation, so be it. And here's the other point. If we put it there, then we just are dealing with 3 campuses that are off the tax rolls, and we've only got to repurpose 2. If you put it downtown, now you've taken the new campuses off the tax rolls. You've got the 3 other hospitals off the tax rolls with no purpose for them. That's a frightening concept as well.
Sure. Jim, thanks for coming in. I know you want a lot more time with this. We'll probably have to invite you back for more further discussion on this as time goes on.
Jim, why don't you listen in this morning, because I know there are going to be some folks calling in. I believe Assemblywoman Claudia Tenney is on the line.
Claudia, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Well, I was just walking by my radio and I was listening to the discussion on this, and I just thought I'd just raise a couple of questions and about this issue that concern me. And I, as someone who represents the largest town in Oneida County, New Hartford, which is where St. Luke's is currently located, a number of people have contacted me regarding this issue. And we have a lot of seniors in our community and a lot of healthcare issues with our community. One of which is that I don't know if people realize that when you talk about Medicaid reimbursement rates, which many of our hospitals are dependent on, New York City actually has a 16% higher reimbursement rate than upstate New York. So we're at a huge disadvantage when it comes to the reimbursement. But it concerns me that it seems like the focus of this is economic development and being driven by politicians, in a quest to put up a monument or something. To me, the number one focus should be excellence in healthcare and providing what we need to provide for our community. And I just am worried that is not necessarily the emphasis. We're talking about foot traffic to a hospital. I don't know of anyone who walks to a hospital. You usually end up going there by car or ambulance. We have some hospitals that have some restaurants around them and everything. And I know Jay cited the example before of the Syracuse University, which is one of the premier and largest universities in the country, is part of University Hospital, and that's a reason that there's so much traffic there. It's also a much larger city than Utica, for example. I just think the focus should be on excellence in medical care and technology, and making sure that we're cutting edge on the technology and providing care to our community. And our community is unique. We tend to have an aging community, and we need to focus on those needs, those should be first, not economic development. And I just think it's great to have a lot of money, but where's the business plan coming from the experts in the medical community saying, if we had $300 million plus, how would be the best use of this money to maximize our delivery of health care to our citizens. And I think that's the focus that we're kind of missing out on here. Maybe it's out there. I just haven't seen it on either, on the side of the people that are pro.
Claudia, do you have enough information? Are you being availed of information? I know Jim Brock is here. He's claiming that some of this negotiation is going on behind closed doors in smoke-filled rooms. He said, do you have that same feeling yourself?
Well, my big concern is this. Where is the $300 million coming from, and why is the governor of New York putting $300 million in taxpayer money and making a determination and say, hey, this is where it has to go? Why does it matter where the location is? Shouldn't we have everybody get together and say, this is the best location, not necessarily coming from one person or saying, by the way, you might have the greatest plan for delivery of excellent health care, but we want it to go here. Why? That sounds like there's like an inside deal to me. We don't know if there's an inside deal, but Jim raises an important question. Why does it have to go in the location it's going in? There's other blogs have cited, the Mohawk Valley Psych Center. There's some other areas of Utica that might be a great location to put the hospital if you're going to do this, if you're going to spend $300 million. Just building bricks and mortar isn't necessarily the best plan for providing excellent health care. Now, it may be, but where is the analysis that has led us to this?
All right.
It sounds to me like the $300 million was just pulled out of a pie-in-the-sky number.
Good questions. Claudia, thanks for the call. Appreciate you listening in on your free time at home.
Thank you. Not free time, but
thanks,
on my way out.
Assemblywoman.
Jim Brock saying hi to you, too, there.
Thanks a
Hi,
lot.
James. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Claudia.
Thanks for the call. It's 8:06.
Thanks, Claudia.
I'm trying to move it along because I know we've got Todd Hutton, the Utica College president, and we want to talk about that big news yesterday.
Yeah, that would be a question I would pop to Todd Hutton. Would there ever be a discussion or a consideration of maybe partnering with a hospital for some type of program with Utica College?
Wouldn't that synergy be wonderful in the future?
Yeah.
And real quickly, what a big loss it will be to this community when Todd retires. No one has done more for education in this community than Todd has in growing that campus. Our hats are off to him. Of course, we've had a wonderful relationship with him at the Utica Odd and being the home of his wonderful team. It's just been a pleasure, and he will be missed.
Yes, and the UC hockey team is gearing up for another big year, as you said, as are the Comets. And you were mentioning during the break, Jim, that the improvements to the Odd are ongoing and fantastic. We see some of the outside improvements going on the outside of the Odd now, and there's some more on the inside, as you were saying, too, because you sit on a committee, right?
Yeah, well, there's 7 of us that are on the Auditorium Authority, and we have some very exciting things going on inside.
Great.
Barbecue, and a bar that will enable you to take mixed drinks to your seats for every patron that comes in. Every year we want to bring forward a new surprise, making that a cutting-edge building in a historic shell.
What will the facade look like on the outside when it's all done? Can you give us any insight into that?
Sure. It's going to have a similar color feel as the old brick, almost a champagne color, metallic. And what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to uplight it. So when you come to a Comet game, it'll be uplit in green and blue. And when we score, we're going to be able to spin that thing. And whether we spin it in red like we do inside or just spin those colors. And likewise, when you come to a UC game, it'll be uplit in orange and blue.
Great.
And, of course, when we paint the Odd pink for breast cancer awareness, when you drive up to the Odd, it'll be pink.
Similar to the bridge on the overpass over the arterial now, which has different color schemes that it can use, too.
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I think people, they've embraced the Comets, the spirit of Utica. That's also why I'm involved in seeing Utica continue to grow. I think we're on the cusp of great things, and I just don't see the hospital helping us in that location.
We hope so, too. Thanks for coming in. One more thing. It's Step Families Day today. Were you part of one? Have you ever been part of one before? I know I'm a step parent now, have been in the past, and had step parents growing up. But it's a different challenge, and many families are step families these days. Over 50% of families in the United States are now step families in one way, shape, or form. Do you have any experience with that or not?
I don't, but I'm sure you'd be a great stepdad.
I'd like to think I'm a pretty good
I think you'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so thanks for coming in, Jim. Appreciate it.